Hello everyone. My name is Anthony Mukanya, and once again, thank you so much for joining me here today. As you know, in this channel, I'd like to bring you the latest news. Sometimes we react to some of the, shall we say, funny and sad videos and statements that far left personalities, politicians, and also sometimes just the average person has said online. Um, but today, or at least in this video, I would like to do something a little bit different, and I would like to share a little bit about my story and what motivates me, and also about my political view. So basically, once I think it is important to explain why I consider myself to be a conservative. Um, okay, so as I have mentioned before, I was born in Africa, and for about 11 years, so I was born in the DRC in Africa, and in fact, in one of my earlier video, I did mention that I visited the country. This is just one side road. I visited the country, and one of those. So in the video that I mentioned these outfits that I wanted to make for myself and my wife, and one of those outfits is the one that I'm wearing at the moment. Really. What was I saying? Yeah. So I was born in the DRC, lived in South Africa, and what has basically informed my political views at the moment are the realities that I was confronted with when I was living, when I lived in South Africa. Uh, so, for example, on issues of personal responsibility, I had noticed that a lot of people would typically work hard, but then they would very much listen to the government, and the government who would tell them that they were basically oppressed, and that there was no way for them to excel really, even though the same government did not want to build houses for them. In terms of service delivery, it was very poor. The same government sabotaged the education system of their own citizen by cutting out huge portion of, for example, the math curriculum at high school level, to hopefully change and hopefully, or at least artificially, um, increase the pass rate of people going to university, um, and so especially from the public school. So that to me didn't make any sense, because I wonder, but why is it that these type of policies, they know what will be the outcome of that, but they clearly didn't care to spend the resources, the money, and the time to actually teach their own citizen. And so we left South Africa in 2016, but that was always something that made me question in terms of personal responsibility, and every single time that they were confronted with an issue. So for example, um, I think it was, I can't remember, I don't know whether it was in 2009 or 2010, but there were, so the ANC government in Cape Town um, decided to, so obviously they were building houses for people, but shockingly, the ANC government decided that those people did not deserve their own privacy, because they ended up building houses, okay, where the toilets were outside. So imagine you living in your house and you want to go to the toilet is outside and not even covered, okay? So how are you going to function like that? For me, that gave me, and they kept blaming for example, the apartheid government, even if they were the ones who had the money, who were building those homes, and some of them were falling apart, and then on top of that, they build these houses that did not meet any standard, where the toilet were outside. So that to me was a big no-no, because I realized right there and then that we couldn't rely on any government really, because the government is designed to protect their own power. Okay, that's why I thought we cannot rely on any government, and especially not a government with socialist tendencies, because even when they have very good intentions, okay, like building houses for people, but corruption come in, and because you invite corruption in, you also invite all sort of other problems. So for me, that was a big wake up call. And then obviously coming and living in the West, I realized very quickly that even the value system started to be very different, right? So even the importance of family was challenged in so many ways, and I started to see that the fabric of the natural family collapsed as more and more people started to identify with all sorts of sexual identities, and I started to think, but where are we going with this? And so then, when years later, BLM became a thing, and on BLM's website, I saw that they had written there that they were against the against the nuclear family or the natural family. I started to think this is not. I started to think that this is not good, and I realized really that it was, for them, it was just a matter of power. Really. They wanted to concentrate as much power in their hand, and that's the result that we got at the end of the day. And it's really telling. It's really telling that we got to a point where um, it's telling that we got to the point where an organization like BLM, that it's supposed to shed light to the struggles of the black family in America, but they would go as far as actually putting on the website, on the original website. Eventually they changed it, but to put on the original website the fact that they were against the nuclear family, when we know, for example, especially in America, the stats are very clear. 75% of African American kids are born out of wedlock. Okay, we also know the statistics in terms of childhood poverty, and just the family poverty for families of single mother homes. We know the statistic for kids who grew up without the father, in terms of incarceration. And so I started to realize, but why is it that all of those steps, all of those things that do matter, and that strengthen communities by strengthening families, why is it that there are politicians, especially on the left, that do not care about that do not want to talk about these things? And so that's when that kind of affirmed really my position as conservative, really, because I realized that whatever it is that they were saying did not make any sense. And so, but for a very long time, I did not want to even express my position, my political positions, because of backlash, what I perceived to potentially be backlash. But at the end of the day, I've decided that I will no longer hide. I will speak up, and this is why I actually created this channel, so that I can bring to you the perspective of someone who happens to be black, happens to be Christian, happens to be conservative, and happens to believe that we are responsible um, for our own destiny, really. And I hate the idea of trusting a government because, as I said before, governments lie. They and I hate the idea of the family, and especially unmarried women to be married to the government. I hate the idea that um, family values are not promoted, and that in fact, um, in many countries, especially some of the states which bizarrely again happen to be all on the left, are doing everything to destroy the family, to undermine parents' authority, and those type of things. The reason why I cannot stand far left policies. I think that they are destructive, and I think that if you want to build stronger community where people want to be productive members of society, then really the only option uh, is what I describe to be is our conservative values, basically. So that's what I wanted to share with you as to why I am personally a conservative. So I hope you guys that's a piece of the puzzle about who I am that you didn't have before. And so let me know what you guys think. And I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.